Welcome. This is our digital conversation on key concepts focused on PowerPoint presentations. This is a supplement for the Crimson track. It'll work as a guide for you, but also the material in this will be on your tests. Blue track, you need to be paying attention to it because I'm going to extract questions for the exam out of these key concepts also. Our goal is to help you engage in presentations that do not create death by PowerPoint. I think some of you have been involved in listening to presentations where about 2 minutes into it you're zoned out. I know that none of you have ever been in a lecture where after 2 minutes you're zoned out because the professor isn't focused. But we want to help you not fall into those categories. It's absolutely intriguing to me working in large organizations now that PowerPoint decks are really taking the place of memos and internal white papers and internal reports. People are moving slide decks back and forth through the organization to deal with complex concepts. So you're learning the skills on how to create effective decks is going to serve you, I can say with a great deal of comfort, very well as you start to work through your career. And part of the reason why this is so popular is the visual aids and the combination of an oral presentation and an image on a screen helps improve the person's memory that's listening to it. It also accelerates their comprehension because they're able to process the message in two different ways, the visual plus the oral. And a very professional PowerPoint deck adds to your credibility. Remember, one of your challenges coming out of university is why should somebody listen to you? Again, a clear, crisp, concise PowerPoint presentation is going to help immensely with that challenge. So here's some tips to avoid DBP or death by PowerPoint. One, remember your job is to assist the listener in processing the message. It's not for you to be clever. You want to use sound effects very sparingly, and you want to correct or select your images also very carefully. I've had the opportunity to work globally, and when I put together a presentation in another country, I run that deck by the folks in that organization before I present it to the audience to make sure that some of my images are not offensive. And trust me, I made some pretty significant mistakes in some of the images that I have selected. You want to make sure that when you're presenting, the lighting in the room is appropriate so that it's very easy to read the images on the screen. You want to do a walk around before you present to make sure that people, wherever they're sitting, have a clear view of the image that you're trying to do. And then you want to operate with mouses that are cordless. The other piece is make sure the darn thing works before you go on stage. Some other tips: when you present, it's all about you, and you want to be able to stay eyeball to eyeball with the audience so they're paying attention to you. And if you start to turn and read the screen, you've now lost the audience. Their attention also is focused on the screen. Excuse me, you're nothing more than a talking head. When you speak, you want to speak in a way that you're having a conversation with the audience. You want them to feel connected to you. You want to use transitions between slides. Now that we've set this up, excuse me, let's take a deeper look at what's going on in that particular situation. And when you're doing oral presentations, have multiple backups. I had the opportunity to present in China. And I learned after my first trip, excuse me, that not only did I have a flash drive, I also had it on a CD, and then I had hard copies And I made the hard copies before I left the United States and checked them in my bags going over, because in one situation I ran into the computer wasn't compatible with the media that I had, wouldn't read my CD, it wouldn't read my flash drive. Went to get copies of the handouts made, and their copy machine wasn't working. So I ended up having to give a lecture, which was not my intention, and I lost all of the impact of my presentation. So make sure you have backups. Some major mistakes that tend to occur in presentations. Again, we talked about reading from the slides. It's all about you, not the slide deck. Make sure your text is large enough to read. Make sure that the color of your text is supportive of the message, not distracting. You want to use complete sentences, or if you're not doing sentences, just a few crisp words. You want to limit the amount of graphics and text on a particular slide. It can get so busy that people lose sight of the image. You know, take a look at the image over to the right, you pop that up on a screen, nobody's going to have any idea what's going on. And your images can be too complex. Again, take a look at the right side. When you're trying to think about how many slides you need to use in a presentation, your author gives you some pretty good ideas. First of all, you time out your presentation to see about how long it is, and then you take the length of your presentation in minutes, divide it by 2, and then you add 1, and that'll give you a pretty good clue. So a 5-minute presentation, 5 minutes divided by 2, you get it down to about, say, 3 slides, add 1 more. So in a 5-minute presentation, the maximum slides that you should have should be about 4. So hopefully, Crimson Track, this gives you some good information for you to use when you're putting together your PowerPoint presentation. Blue Track, pay attention particularly to the math and some of the tips, because I'm going to be testing you to make sure that you've captured it.